If you've been in the keyboard community for any time at all, you're probably well aware of the community favorite. What we have here is the end game for many, the HHKB Professional 2. The name stands for Happy Hacking Keyboard, and the professional suffix refers to it having topra domes. The regular HHKB has regular rubber domes. I have the charcoal gray option, which is a little bit less popular than the white version. I also prefer the white one over this one, but I got it for cheap. To me, the HHKB looks alright. The thin side bezels are in contrast to the thicker top bezel and the impossible to miss blocked bottom. The design is pretty simple with a pretty comfortable incline. On the back there is a dip switch cover and dip switches, and also two USB pass-through ports. And on the bottom there is a sticker indicating the functions for each dip switch. The layout is immediately recognizable. The characteristic missing modifiers in both the left and the right lower corners of the board is somewhat of a community favorite that's been adopted to custom boards. Like the Yoda 2, I do enjoy holding the keyboard by the blocked portion, and though I feel indifferent, I can see how people might enjoy the way it looks. You can access the missing control key by where the caps lock used to be. Some argue that this is good for ergonomics since there is not much stretching when copying, pasting, refreshing, or other left-handed control functions, but I don't really feel like it's a huge enough difference to warrant moving it. Another point of interest for the layout is a split backspace key. The rightmost key on the top row of a 60% is typically a 2U backspace key, but on this board it's split between the grave accent and the / key. There is a bit of practicality in this, as certain functions like programming might use these keys often enough that having dedicated options might be useful. The more important implication from this is the relocation of the backspace key. It is located where the / key would have been on the second row from the top. If you are coming from a more traditional layout, this takes a little bit of getting used to, but many say it is a superior placement because it's used more often than the /. The last weird thing with the layout is the split right shift. The right shift is a 1.75U like in many compact layouts, and the leftover 1U is used as a function key. This function key is used to access the keys that are labeled on the front sides of the keycaps. I'm not going to go through all of the functions, but here are a couple things to note. The arrow keys are accessed with the left bracket, semicolon, quote, and / keys. This is odd since traditional keyboards have the left, down, and right arrows in the same row. I found this to be particularly hard to get used to, especially since I've gotten used to the IJKL arrows found on a poker layout. However, some people swear by this configuration, and I'm sure once you get used to it, it's a breeze to use. Moving on to the build, I have to say that when I held this in my hands for the first time, I was really disappointed. For a keyboard costing somewhere around $200, it feels like a toy. As far as mechanical keyboards go, this weighs almost nothing at around a pound, and the case flexes and creaks. The keycaps are also nothing to write home about. All of the keys except the spacebar are PBT die sublimated, but the thickness is meh at best. This disappointing build quality is not helped by the inferior feet situation on this board. On the back there are two rubber feet and two stupid plastic divots. You also have two height flip-up feet, but I found the default angle to be sufficient. What I didn't find sufficient is the amount of grip that this board offers. The two tiny rubber feet just aren't enough, and it'll slide all around your desk with just a little bit of force. Not having rubber-tipped flip-up feet is maybe understandable, but I don't understand why they couldn't have added a couple more of these rubber feet to the back of the case. So thus far, my impression of this keyboard has been pretty negative. Inferior build quality, funky layout, limited feature set among others. Then why is it that the keyboard community drools all over this? There are a couple things to consider when trying to answer this question. First is the layout. There is a lot to get used to, but people think it really works once you do. Second is the size. A lot of people want a 60% Topra board, but other than this one, they simply don't exist. The closest one is the 65% Leopold FC660C. That one features a more familiar layout with arrow keys, but this might get you wondering why you wouldn't just get that one over this one for the same price. The answer to this question is also the most important factor in the HHKB's popularity. The typing experience on the HHKB Professional is supposed to be unrivaled even among other Topra boards. The major differentiating factor compared to other Topra boards is the plastic plate, the very thing that makes it feel cheap. Boards like the Realforce and the Leopold use steel plates for mounting the slider housings, which is said to give a more solid and therefore harsh bottom out feel, whereas the plastic plate provides a bit of flex and bounce to each keystroke. I don't have another Topra board to perform A/B testing on, but I do recall my Type Heaven and NovaTouch feeling distinct from the HHKB. With all of that said, let's have a listen to the famous thok. I won't dispute the claim that it feels good to type on. This kind of tactility is something that isn't really offered in the standard MX style switches, and the soft bottom out feel is pretty unique. While I enjoy it, I just can't relate with all the hype around the feels on this board, at least not in its stock form. The part that bothers me the most is the upstroke noise. Internally, this is coming from the top of the slider hitting the bottom of the housing, and it just reminds me of stabilizer rattle. Imagine having to listen to spacebars on a Corsair keyboard with every keystroke. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but it's pretty annoying. There are a variety of silencing mods that can help with this. PFU even makes a Type S variant of this board, which includes a rubber ring between the contact points of the slider and the housing. And doing a similar mod greatly reduces the bad sound and accentuates the thok. I haven't tried them out, but I heard that the KBD Fan Silence X rings are best for this job due to their thinness. A smaller problem for me is the layout. I really tried, but I couldn't get used to the missing left modifier and the arrow keys. I just don't think it's very ergonomic to have to hold down the right function to access the oddly laid out arrows. The left hand function and the right hand arrow keys make the most sense to me. I was able to get around this by using a Hasu controller, which allows key remapping, but even then I didn't like the missing left control. All in all, this isn't a bad keyboard by any means, but you probably already knew that. All those posts that make it to the top of the keyboard subreddit can't be wrong, right? But is it $220 MSRP good? I don't think so. There are just too many compromises that you're making just for a marginal improvement over regular Topra, and even more when compared to all keyboards in the same price range. Definitely feels nice, but I think your experience will be helped with silencing and programming mods to start. Thanks for watching as always, and like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more of me talking about this strange hobby.